Scared the dog with that one. Hello, everyone. My name is Cassanaya. I am the host of 1 Minute History on YouTube. Go watch it. 1 minute, the digit 1 minute history on YouTube. And I have started playing poker. So this is my poker journal. I'm probably going to label it something like that. You can see the title up there and tell me whether I did or not. And at this point, I figured that I wanted to do a sort of video poker journal for you, let you know each time I play a poker tournament exactly how I did and my thoughts about it and how I think I'm doing. That's very important to me as far as actually building a possible game, and it comes at a very interesting point in my life. And I'll tell you that the poker tournament that I'm about to tell you about, I did very well. Surprisingly very well. So I'll get to that. But to lead up to that, I'm a stuntman at Old Tucson. That's my regular day job. That's my full-time job. Now during the summer, so about 5 months out of the year, the park is only open every weekend. Okay, and that just started. This week that just started. So I have a few extra days off during the day, which is good. I'm only working 2 or 3 times a week. Now I've saved enough money to be able to live off for the rest of the summer rather than having to take another job, which I've had to do in the past. Excuse me. So with this free time, I'm going to be able to work on 1 Minute History more, which I have been this past week. This past week is when it first started. And I have an episode coming out pretty soon. So you might be watching this after you watch that. I don't know. For all the half dozen people who are watching this. So the poker tournaments that I'm playing in, I decided to start playing in a regular poker tournament with a buy-in. Now, there's a casino that's very close to where I live, and they have a very cheap poker tournament. It's actually technically a free roll. So it's a free roll poker tournament at a casino. You pay $6 to get an extra 300% worth of chips. So it's not a free roll in that sense because it's a $6 buy-in tournament basically. But you could technically get in for free if you wanted to. And so that means you start off with 4,000 chips. So I started off with 4,000 chips. And the maximum amount that other players could be starting with if they spent like 3 hours playing cash games beforehand is an extra 1,500, only 1,500. So I'm playing 4,000 against a maximum of 5,500 chips. And when it got down to it, it really didn't matter. That extra amount did not matter because of how fast this game went. It went so fucking quick. The blinds were so quick. 10 minutes every blind. Now they are incremental. They don't double. But so say it goes from 25 to 50, and then that does double to 5,100. That does double then to 100, 200. But then after that it starts getting incremental and does that for the rest of the tournament basically since after that point. So 200, 400, 300, 600, 400, 800, 500, 1,000. So the action is really fast. Even with doing that, my fold rate is at 70%. Now, a lot of players say it needs to be at around 80 or 90%. I think they're mainly talking about cash games when they're talking about that. The 70% that I was at is still a very good high number. And I think should be on par based upon how I ended up playing and how it ended up happening, or how it ended up boiling out, that it seems like that's a good fold rate. And it may even be a little higher than that because there's a chance that I didn't record some of my hands. Most likely I didn't record some of my hands. That is actually probably around 75%, which I think that's a good percentage for this type of tournament. It's just your basic multi-table tournament. MTT is what they're called. And I ended up doing really well. So the top five players get places. Now there were there were 10 people to a table, which I've never played at a 10-person table. I've played only at 8-person tables in free rolls basically my whole life up to this point. I've played more than 1,000 tournaments. I calculated it. I did the math. I thought it was maybe an exaggeration, but then I did the math, and doing 2 tournaments a night, two nights a week, and they're free tournaments. They're free roll tournaments. So all of that added up really quickly. I've been doing that since college, but then I stopped. I stopped 5 years ago, basically. I may have played 1 or 2 games in the meantime. And then when my girlfriend and I, we went to Phoenix, she is a big fan of Fall Out Boy. And they had a concert up there. And she goes to see them whenever they're in Arizona. She was there for it. I hate concerts anyway. And I'm not that big a fan of Fall Out Boy, so I wasn't going. I wasn't spending the money. So I looked up a free roll tournament. I was going to play in a money tournament, but it wasn't possible given the fact that it'd be really late before I could pick her up, and a free roll tournament usually ends in about 3 hours. Okay, and that's how long this tournament lasted. This casino tournament, 3 hours. That's it. Boom, done. And that's how fast it was. 55 players, narrowed down to the final table and everything within and the winners and all of that within 3 hours. So that's kind of the timeliness that I'm used to at those free roll tournaments. So I was familiar with a lot of the style of play that I wanted to do, and the style of play that I needed to do in order to seemingly do well in the tournament, in order to feel like I'm doing well at least. I kept a record of every single hand. Every single hand I took notes on, the whole cards that I had, and whether I folded or what happened in the hand if I stayed in the hand. 70% of them folding, just that's it, just to begin with. I am not a person who wants to see a flop just to see a flop. I'm folding a lot. So I actually have here, and maybe I'll show exactly what it is, but this is right here a log sheet that I created for tournaments in the future. It's going to give me a hand history. Now I have it listed, as you can see here, the hands positions. All right, so you see at the top there, big blind, then comes the small blind, then the button, then the cutoff, the hijack, the midpoint, and then under the gun, +1, +2, +3. So in those positions are of course very important for play, and what I'm playing and in those positions, and why I'm playing them in those positions. I have a few things here that are going to help me short form indicate what happened in the hand. So I checked, I folded, I 3-bet, I continuation bet, pre-flop, flop, turn, and river. That's what the PFF, T, and R are. Fold to a raise, I check raise, a trapped, raise bluff, and a raise withdraws. Now, so a raise bluff is like when I don't even have much of draws. It's just a straight up bluff. And then raise withdraws, I'm raising, but I still have some draws. I still can draw it on the person. So those are some basic strategies outlined there, and whether I'm employing those strategies in the hand. And I ended up doing really well. Top 5 places get cash, and as we're coming up to it, I just wanted to make this is the first tournament I played in 5 years. First tournament I played in 5 years. Okay, first like cash tournament. When I was at Phoenix, I'm sorry I interrupted that story. When I was at Phoenix, I played a free roll tournament there, and that was about 40 people. So about 5 tables, 8 people to a table. And as we're sitting there playing along, and I get halfway through, 2 tables are gone. Then the next table is gone. There's now 2 tables down, and I'm still doing okay. And we get to the final table, and sitting at the final table, I get to play one hand. I had the best draws out of anybody there because 5 people went all in, including myself, after the flop. I had 2 overcards and a flush draw and a straight draw. Okay, not a straight flush draw, but a flush draw and a straight draw as well. All right, and not backdoor, open-ended on the straight draws. So I had a lot of ways I could have won, a lot of cards that would make me win myself and would hit nobody else. Nothing ended up coming for me, so I got knocked out of the tournament and placed 7th. In this tournament that I played for $6, $400 is guaranteed by the casino. So $400 is going to be shared among the 5 places, and incrementally, of course. First place gets 150, and then down after that, and then sequentially down after that. So we get to the final table, and final table's doing good. I had a huge stack. I was down to 1,100 at one point from 4,000, 1,100, and I was able to build myself up. Guys there were talking about, like, hey, this guy was down to 1,100. I can't believe he's doing this well. I had this great sense from them because of how I was speaking that this was all luck. This is all luck that I was doing this well. I was just running really good, and that's what I was at least saying overtly to them. Of course, I am getting the sense that I'm a pretty good player compared to a lot of these players. There was one fucking guy who had a pair of 4s, and there's 2 pairs out on the board. There's queens and 5s. He has the 3rd pair, so his pair doesn't play. His 4s didn't even play because he didn't even have the high card, and the guy with a king had the high card, so his kicker plays, and he won the hand. And the guy's sitting there like, oh, but I got a pair. Look, I got a pair. I got 4s. Well, a pair beats a king, right? Like, no, you have the kicker, you dumb fuck. There's no 3 pairs in Texas Hold'em. You can't have 3 pairs. You can have 2 pair. You can have 1 pair, but you can't have 3 pair. So that's the level of the people that I was playing with, for the most part. And then you get the sense that, excuse me, you get the sense that with some of those people there, I was playing against some good players, but they were relatively few. Like, I felt like I was psychically connected with this one guy that was kind of across from me, and like, that's maybe the only other good player at this table. I don't want to be egotistical. I want to be humble. I want to be relatively accurate about this. That's just how I felt. And I ended up getting in the cash. I ended up winning. I ended up getting at 4th place with the amount of chips that we stopped at when we decided to split. What was remaining. There were 5 guys left, and we all split the cash. So we all got $80 out of it. I got $80 after having played in the $6 tournament. So I'm in the money. If I can place 1 out of every 10, if I can place in the cash 1 out of every 10 tournaments, I'm making money. Technically, you're breaking even if roughly 1 out of every 20 you're placing in the cash. At this point, I'm 1 for 1. All right. Tonight I'm going to play the same tournament again, same season of this tournament. It's Tuesday again. So I'm going to play again, and I assume I'm just going to lose. That's fine. I'm not going to place in the cash. That's fine. I have many more tournaments ahead of me that I will try and do well in. And if I do well in at least one of them over the next 20 tournaments, then that means I'm doing really well. That means I am placing in 1 out of every 10. I'm placing in the cash in 1 out of every 10. That's the goal. Then I know if I start doing that, then I'm making money. then it's not just practice for me. It's not just me still figuring things out. Years ago, the reason I quit is because I was frustrated. I was very frustrated with poker. I wasn't doing well in it, and I wasn't the type of player that perhaps I am now. Maybe not a lot has changed, but in that meantime, I have been keeping up only on tells. I've been studying tells. I've been studying people's behavior, and part of being an actor helps with that as well. And poker is really about knowing whether a person is lying or not, whether they're telling me through their subconscious behavior whether they are lying or not. If that big bet that they just placed is because they want you so desperately to call them because they have such a good hand, or that big bet that they just placed is something that is them lying, that is them trying to tell you, I have a big hand, when in reality they don't. Information is one of those things that is the bedrock of all poker strategy behind the actual besides the actual mathematics of it. You can be a good strategist, and that's perhaps exactly what you need in order to be good to play online. I am not there yet. I hated playing online. I always did bad at it, maybe because my strategy is not as good as where it needs to be. I'm not making the right type of raises and calls oriented towards online play. That's why I've blotted out, as you can see here, I've blotted out the actual hands. I'm not going to show you the actual hands because I don't want you to know my range. I don't want you to know what I'm playing. And so there, I will tell you that my favorite hand is Queen 10, and I'll have that in a future episode as to why that's my favorite hand, but it's a very important hand to me personally. So this I'm going to take tonight with me, and I'm going to write out the information at the top. You can see there the information about all the tournament, and then the actual sheet here has it's double-sided, so I can keep an accurate record of where I'm at what I've done every single hand, an accurate hand history. And I have here, I was so nervous. I was so fucking nervous. I was so nervous, and I was shaking, and I was shaking before it, like I was there an hour before, and I was so nervous because I hadn't played in such a long time. I did really well in that free roll tournament that I just played in. It was the first tournament that I played in 5 years for money, and so I had to get a new card. I had to get a new casino card, one of those. They identify who you are. And then I bought some gum. I bought some gum while I was there because that's an old baseball trick. You see during the national anthem, they're sitting there chewing on gum. And they're doing it to not because they're doing it because they want to alleviate any nervousness, any nerves that they might be feeling coming up to that game. And so the bigger the game is, they may you might even see a larger portion of them chewing gum. That's just to get them to get into a more meditative state because they're just chewing gum. So I'm gonna bring that with me. I think that chewing gum was important to alleviate my nerves, and I played an even and steady game. Writing this stuff down was I think very important to my play, because writing it down, I realized because I wrote it down, maybe I didn't play that King 7, maybe I didn't play that Queen Jack in the under the gun position. I didn't play hands that later I would look at and be ashamed of myself for having played. Why did I play there? Of course I'm losing money. Oh, I lost money. Of course I did. Because I should have just gotten rid of that hand. Writing it down made me make that decision. And I think that's a lot of why I did good in this particular tournament on this particular day. So I'm going to continue writing it down. I'm going to continue my hand history. I think it's so important to me right now. And the fact that I did so well in my first tournament is awesome. I think that's all I have to tell you about. I'll go ahead and give an update after every single one of my tournaments. I'm doing this because I want it to be me being honest about how I'm doing, being accurate about how I'm doing. That's why I'm keeping records, and also to illustrate how often you have to lose and how often you have to, or how you have to think long term. If I win 1 out of every 10 tournaments, not win, but if I am in the cash after 1 out of every 10 tournaments, I'm doing well. But those 9 tournaments that I don't cash in, those could seem daunting. That would seem very daunting. But in the long run, you are making money and you are still playing good poker. If you're winning in more than 1 out of every 10 tournaments, or 1 out of every 10 tournaments, or 1 out of every 10 times you're, obviously in cash games, it's different because you want to be just slowly in the positive. Yeah. So, but I haven't done cash games yet. It'll be a long time before I get to that point. I'm so fucking poor. My bankroll is so tiny. The advice is to do 20 times what the buy-in is. So that's $180. Like, that's how much of my bankroll is. It's $180. I will not go to the next step until I've made enough money in tournament winnings to go to the next step. The next step is $30. $30 to get into the next tournament. That's a lot of money. That's a huge portion of my bankroll currently. I will not start playing in those games until I have $600. Until I've had $600 worth of tournament winnings. So I'm trying to be patient with this. I'm trying to take it incrementally, and I'm trying to be really judicious about leveling up. I'm not going to level up until I know statistically that it is a good idea. I'm deserving to level up. That's it. And if I start doing badly, if I start feeling bad about how I've been playing, then I'm going to level down, and possibly level down right to the bottom, just to the fucking bottom, and stay there until I get a good feeling back, or I figure out what's going wrong with me. I didn't even get much into the hand play. I played extremely well. I was the huge chip leader going into cash. This is one big lesson that I learned. A lot of people give the advice of if you're near the bubble, you play more loose and you play more aggressive, and everyone's going to fold to you. And that exactly happened. And that's another long-term thinking too, because if you end up going out during that point right before the bubble, that's fine, because proportionally, far more often you're going to be getting into the bubble than you are being out of the bubble. And you're going to have a lot more after the bubble and going into people who have cashed, because everyone plays so tight because they want to get past the bubble. So that's a long-term strategy thinking. Now here's the real interesting thing. I was still in that mode after the bubble happened. Then everyone went back to how they were beforehand. They started playing with their shit again. And I kept being a little bit more loose, a little bit more aggressive. I was very tight aggressive before the bubble, and then I was loose aggressive moving up to it because I could feel their fear. I could feel everyone's fear of not placing. So as I'm there, I played after the bubble had been burst or whatever, and we're all in the cash. This guy, I had a queen 10, and maybe this is my one big mistake of the whole tournament. I feel like I only made a couple of small mistakes, and this is perhaps one of them. We ended up going all in. I doubled him up. He had trips. He trapped me really well. Okay, but he was playing a Jack 4, I raised pre-flop. Pre-flop. Now I had a Queen 10. I had position on this guy. Okay? I raised pre-flop. Like 2.5 times the big blind. Okay? And this fuckwad decides to stay in with ultimately what was a Jack 4. Now the board comes Jack, Jack 10. And bet he calls. I'm in real big trouble, of course. I don't know this. And I'm still playing aggressive. And then the turn comes an 8. So plus this was all suited as well. So I have with my Queen 10 a straight flush draw. Okay, I haven't made anything yet. I have a pair of 10s. Or no. What I have? I had like a Queen 9, I think. Queen 9, something like that. It was a straight flush draw. So if I had gotten any of those draws, I would have won the hand and basically doubled myself. Almost doubled myself up. I still had 25,000 after it, but I handed him 40,000 because he had the trip jacks, and that's perhaps my only mistake. And that's because when you switch into the mode of being loose aggressive after the bubble or before the bubble, okay, you're in the mode of being loose aggressive before the bubble. And I was raking it. It was so fun. It was so fucking great. Like, give me your money. I was just raking in the money. And then once the cash happened, then I needed to tighten back up. And I didn't. I didn't tighten back up. Yes, we're down to 5 people. Yes, your range is going to expand more. But perhaps in that situation, I could have saved myself a lot. And ended up possibly winning the tournament, because I had kind of made it clear that I was just going to go to the end. I was kind of playing hardball with it, and I'm very thankful that after I got hit really hard, and maybe it was because the others were sensing that I could still come back. Because I was at a table with this guy over here to my left, directly to my left, super tight, super passive. All right. This guy over here, tight and almost aggressive, sometimes aggressive, but not consistently aggressive. This guy over here, very loose passive. He was to my right, so I was in a good position there. He just happened to get a killer hand on me. He got a monster, and the other guy, I can't even remember what the other fucking guy was. The guy directly to my left was the one bragging about me having been down to 1100, and he was super tight. So I had gotten knocked down to the amount of chips, but I was still at 4th place when it came down to the points. The points are going to all add up at the end of the season. And at the end of the season, you get the top 30 players in that season of those tournaments get a free invitation to a tournament that has some huge cash value winning into it that the casino puts into it. So if I keep doing well, in these tournaments, I keep making. If I place in the points just a few more times, then I'll get myself into that final tournament, and that could be some place for me to make some decent money. So yeah, that's it. Like hopefully that'll happen. Hopefully over the next 10 games, I'll place in the cash one of them. If I can place in the cash once over the next 10 games, that means 2 out of 10 games, my first 10 games, I will have placed in the cash. I will have made the cash, which indicates that I'm not just doing well. I'm not just making money. I'm doing really well. And it's matching up to, frankly, what I think I am as a poker player. Right now, I'm playing well. I am maybe on the cusp of making money doing this, which is a really interesting idea to me. Because this is a game which is... I kept showing my money the whole week. Like, I didn't spend it at all. I spent it. I had to spend it. I had to spend it on this. I drive a motorcycle. This is my new battery. My battery crapped out on me. It was a 2-year-old battery. The warranty on it is a year, so it lasted more than a year, or more than a year past that. So this battery, I'm going to plug into my motorcycle, and that will be what I spent my money on. I spent, that was like $56, okay? So I spent most of my tournament winnings on that battery. So, but before then, it was just sitting in my wallet. It was just sitting in my wallet making me proud. Like, I fucking won this. I won this off of intellectual prowess alone. I won this off of intelligent play alone. That's what I made this money from. So I'm keeping accurate records. I'm keeping records on my cell phone for the tournaments themselves, not the hand history. The hand history will go here, and then that gets put in a spreadsheet, which I can see results of later, and you can see here the results. Hopefully, hopefully I'm showing all that. So that's it. I will let you, I'll hopefully see you guys next week. Hopefully I'll keep this video series going. It'll keep me honest, keep me accurate. Every single time that I play a tournament, I'll set this up and hopefully end up getting an update on that. And it'll obviously be a lot shorter. I had a lot to talk about in this tournament, and also I'll get into personal life and all that. If you guys, like, I read every single comment. I read every fucking comment. So if you comment, I'll either comment to you, or it might be something that I'll save for a future episode, and I'll reference that in future episodes if people are asking those questions. So thanks for listening, and good night, and have a pleasant tomorrow.
وإن الله على نصرهم لقدير صدق الله العظيم. أيها الشعب العظيم، أيها النشام المجاهدون، رجال قواتنا المسلحة الباسلة، يا أبناء أمتنا المجيدة،